Hello everyone, this is MykeCheck'd95 back at it again with another RDW highlights behind the scenes of RDW and everything. Normally, like I said before in a previous video that I've done, I said I was going to kind of do it in like segments and everything, but with this being kind of like the first RDW pay-per-view that had more than just 2 matches, kind of wanted to like step into the behind the scenes and explain like all like the match building and all of the issues that we ran into, plus some of the issues I feel like were caused from this, because it was kind of a big turning point for us in like the right way when it came to like viewership, but when it came to match planning and scheduling, this is kind of where all the issues started. So to kind of start things off, we had our main event. We had it set in stone 100% for sure. Van Flesner had his rematch clause, Fatty Ogre pretty much okayed it and everything. That was our main event for the world title, Fatty Ogre versus Van Flesner 2. Now, I originally had an idea with these two guys to be in a trilogy set of matches, but it never really came to be, as you can see, just because like scheduling just never worked out for the two of them. Both of them had like their own personal like family issues or like life issues. Nothing really terrible or nothing bad. A lot of like just, you know, normal life stuff just kind of kept getting in the way, and it just never really came to fruition at all, pretty much ever since this night. This was the last time that Fatty Ogre and Van Flesner had faced off one-on-one, so never really got that trilogy set I wanted with the two of them. Kind of moving on from that, we had another idea for a second title for the other guys to compete for, and to kind of think about it now from like retrospect, I kind of feel like that introducing a second title with only 6 or 7 guys in the league was kind of problematic, because with the roster being so tiny and only having like 2 titles, I feel like thinking about that now, it's too much of a clusterfuck, and kind of looking forward and remembering all the messes that I was stuck in when it came to managing everything and planning stuff. It was a clusterfuck because we never really got our numbers that much bigger than this for the most part. The guys wanted to do kind of like based off a weight class, so it was named the lightweight championship. Now the weight class thing kind of also became an issue because there were only a couple of really big guys and a lot of smaller guys who are about the same weight as I am, or a little bit lighter, kind of like Cosmos. Of course, eventually by the next year it was renamed the Intercontinental Championship to kind of help make it more official as a mid-card title. We decided to do kind of like a small little tournament, and we had 3 guys who were in the tournament going into this pay-per-view. There was PX90, there was Cosmos, and then there was Krieger Martin. PX90 had already advanced on to the finals because of a dumb management decision I made to turn an impromptu quote-unquote house match between PX90 and another guy that was maybe like not even a minute long, and PX90 won it with super ease, so he went into main event 3 going into the finals. So it really didn't matter who PX90 was going to face, like it was going to be a tough challenge either way. So that was a thing that I wish that I would have turned around and changed. Kind of thinking about it now, this is kind of where all the management decisions and choices that I made, all the issues that people had with the decisions I made involving PX90 had started. To the other guys, I guess it kind of looked like I was picking favoritism with them and everything, but I was also kind of looking at the viewership at the point, and like PX90 was getting a huge following with all the viewers and everything, so I kept wanting to plan to put him on the card so I could pull in some more views. So I was kind of looking at that standpoint, not really thinking about anything else. So yeah, like at the time I was trying to make him one of RDW's golden boys, but now it just kind of looks like that I was just picking favoritism. So that's just stuff that I feel like that I want to admit to, but also kind of explain why I did it the way I did. So the other match that we had for the tournament was Cosmos versus Krieger Martin. These two guys have been training back and forth for the past couple weeks. Krieger Martin trying to build up Cosmos' wrestling ability and everything, and so they wanted to have a match, so I decided to book the two of them against each other into the semifinals. And as you saw from the results, Krieger Martin came out on top with quick ease, because he knows how to pretty much take anyone out pretty quick if he needs to. So later on the card for the co-main event, we had Krieger Martin versus PX90 for the lightweight championship. This match was very intriguing because, number one, the sheer size difference between these two guys in height. Number two, just the ability these two guys had that could have been so much better, but it was just the sole fact that, like, PX90 had him trapped in a guillotine hold, and it was on there longer than it should have been. Like, the match itself, like, video-wise, that I have on here is like 7 minutes long, but it was like about 30 minutes long, like, in total record time, because like Krieger Martin could not break out of that guillotine hold because of PX90's strength. And then there's the aforementioned forearm rub in the face that us and RDW kind of meme and joke about now, but like that moment I caught on camera, and that was probably the first time ever in RDW that I thought that I would have to stop the match and break up a fight and try to simmer things down and almost possibly cancel a match. But everything turned out okay, and everyone's still friends and everything, and PX90 came out on top, and he was our first ever official lightweight champion. For the lightweight tournament, long story short, booking wise, I wish I would have done it a little bit better, but at the same time, with this tiny small roster we had, it's just what I had to mess with and deal with. Then came a decision to try to figure out what we were going to do for Harvey Beardman, because he didn't really have any plans going into this, because number one, we had the tournament set up and everything to go, we had the main event booked and everything. I was on injury leave at the time that we were booking this, so this was like the week before, and so he didn't really have an opponent, so he decided to pretty much have an open challenge invitational to pretty much anyone to come out and face him and everything. I couldn't face him at all because, like, I was still nursing an injury and everything. Out comes Bamf Lesnar, and he has 2 matches on the card and pretty much utterly destroys him in a matter of like 10 minutes. So there was that. The other match, also in the process of building this, probably like 2 days before we actually started filming this, Latino Magic wanted to start wrestling for us. So we're like, okay, cool, we can put you on the card and everything. But we had already planned out Taylor's Invitational match. We knew there was going to be Bamf Lesnar facing him at the time because we decided that. So that puts us back in the same position that we were with Harvey Beardman when we were planning this match. There was no opponent for Latino Magic. I was still on injury leave because I wasn't sure if I was going to be cleared for the show. So we get to the day of, and this match is like 4th on the card and everything, so he didn't really have an opponent, and Cosmos had enough time to rest up and everything, and he wanted to change things up with his character, and he wanted to debut it already. So we had him go out there and face Latino Magic, pretty much planned that whole match the day of, like 5 minutes before we started recording, and they put out a pretty good match. Like, these two guys really do put out really, really good singles matches, and I always like watching these two guys go at it 1v1. I was kind of surprised that Cosmos actually got the win against Latino Magic, because, I mean, I wasn't really sure how good or wrestling ability-wise Latino was, but he did come out on the losing end, but Latino Magic did show a really good showing when it came to this match. So then we had the idea of wanting to record one more match, and I think this was the last match we recorded on the night. We had planned it to be like the pre-show opener for just do a pre-show idea, because pre-shows were pretty big when it came to wrestling shows back then. Of course, the pre-show idea kind of eventually did simmer out because it didn't really, I guess, do well for the most part, and we just got tired of doing it. But this was the first pre-show match that we've ever done, and this was also pretty much the very first time that we did a 6-man battle royale with 6 different superstars. So we had Krieger Martin, Cosmos, Harvey Beardman, Fatty Ogre, myself, and Latino Magic all in the 6-man battle royale. Upload wise, it was the first match that we did, but it was the very last match that we did at the night, and everyone was so tired. I mean, even myself was kind of tired, even though I got taken out pretty quick because of my foot injury that I got in a previous practice session. This was kind of like the only way that I can really put myself into the card, because it was literally the same day that I was pretty much cleared, like, of my injury and everything. I had nothing to do. I put myself in the 6-man match, and we just pretty much hashed it out and everything. So that is kind of the jumbled mess that is RDW Main Event 3 that turned out to be probably one of the glorious pay-per-views that we've ever made, viewership-wise. This is kind of where the popularity started, was at this show. And like going forward from this, I think we started doing full matches after that, just to kind of see how the viewership would do watching full matches instead of these highlights. How do I feel about it now kind of explaining into detail and have everything laid out on the table and looking at every detail that I've explained? I feel like that with the small roster I had, overbooking was always going to be a problem. I would probably change something with PX90's advancement match, actually have him do an advancement match at the pay-per-view. That way we can take out a match. I'd honestly probably get rid of the 6-man battle royale pre-show, because I mean it was kind of unnecessary. Like, didn't really need it. It just kind of was made just to beef up the show. So if I were to book this now, it'd be Fatty Ogre and Bam Flancer for the world title, Cosmos versus Krieger in a semifinal, PX90 versus myself in a semifinal. The winner of those two matches would face in a final round as a co-main event for the lightweight championship, and then Carvey Beardman versus Latino Magic. That is kind of how I would book everything out, like match-wise. I guess the next time you shall hear me talk about more behind-the-scenes stuff will probably be after RDW's Summer Bash, because whew, there is a lot of jangled messes when it comes to Summer Bash. Like, it was kind of put together a little bit better. We had at least one or two more people, but it was still a mess. Like, a lot of our RDW shows were a mess, and they remained as a mess pretty much throughout its inception all the way to the end. But until then, this is MykeCheck'd95. If you've been enjoying these videos and all the other content on my channel, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Join the madness. You can find us on social media like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and on Discord, all under the names MykeCheck Productions. You can also find us on Spotify under the MykeCheck Podcast, where we upload podcasts, me, Krieger, and Lyson Fang, and we just talk and bullshit and just talk about like wrestling stuff or movie news, and just have random discussions about stuff. So be sure to go on all those sites and check us out, follow us, share all of our content, like our work, all that stuff. Go on Discord and let us know how we're doing, share your ideas on what you think we should do. This is MykeCheck'd95, signing out.